Every week, one 8-hour video will be uploaded. All novels uploaded here are completed, so you will get a full story without searching or waiting. I have listened to the translated version on web, and there are no major problems with translation. If you want Chinese novel translated, give me the original name of the novel and I will respond to your request as soon as possible. Please make sure your request is on the latest video. If you hear this "u" sound in the novel, it means either question mark or some space is left, like getting materials or experience gain there more but not shown. If after a name is used and after there is silence, it means exclamation marks were used as in shock. I don't know if this will happen in recorded one, but it happened in web version. Chapter 114. President Zhang, who was used to grand spectacles, was completely flustered by Chen Bo's actions. "You're just going to hand your phone over to me so casually? President Zhang, feel free to swipe boldly. Don't stop until I get back. Understand?" After dropping that line, Chen Bo walked towards Yuan Chao's private room. His tone was as arrogant as ever. President Zhang's mouth twitched. "Don't stop until you get back? What if you don't come back for an hour? 2 hours? As expected, he's still too young and reckless." President Zhang also wanted to see how much money Chen Bo actually had in his account to be able to speak so arrogantly. So, he picked up Chen Bo's phone and entered the Tiger Eye app backend. In private room 808, the Qi-gathering third-stage expert, Yuan Chao, the Thunderous Hand, was still unconscious on the sofa. Since Yuan Chao was only left with a pair of briefs after his clothes exploded, the waiter thoughtfully covered him with a blanket. Chen Bo was speechless. "This is a Qi-gathering third-stage expert? He's been unconscious for over an hour, and I've already spent over 10 million on internet celebrities. Yet he still hasn't woken up from his coma." So, a silver needle glinting with cold light slid from Chen Bo's hand. The next second, "Ah!" An extremely mournful scream echoed in the private room. Using the Taiwei divine needles to awaken someone in a comatose state was as easy as pie. Enduring the intense pain, Yuan Chao rolled on the sofa for a while before remembering where he was. "You bastard! How dare you lay hands on me? You're dead!" This was the first thing Yuan Chao said after waking up, besides screaming. Stab! Without another word, the silver needle in Chen Bo's hand pricked Yuan Chao's body in several more places. Instantly, an agonizing scream, even more horrifying than before, erupted again. The sound was so loud that even the crowd outside, watching President Zhang gift to the female streamer, noticed the commotion. But everyone knew that President Bo was handling things, and no one questioned it at all. They were not ordinary people. As long as no one died, any one of the people here could help Chen Bo settle the matter. "Can you speak properly? I'll speak your mother." Stab. 3 more needles. The pain Chen Bo controlled was twice as intense as before. This time, there were no more heart-wrenching screams. Yuan Chao rolled off the sofa, cold sweat pouring, his whole body twitching, curled up like a boiled shrimp. Because when a person's pain reaches a certain level, even the strength to scream disappears. Chen Bo wasn't worried about Yuan Chao having any problems. He was very clear about the efficacy of the Taiwei divine needles. Although the pain was like scraping bone, it would not cause any damage to Yuan Chao's body. It even had the effect of prolonging life. Ding, detecting a person with ill intentions towards the host, Yuan Chao. The system is currently detecting the target's most cherished woman. Yuan Chao's most cherished woman detected, Yuan Shui. The following is Yuan Shui's personal information. Name, Yuan Shui. Occupation, university lecturer, traditional Chinese medicine. Age, 26 years old. Height, 169 cm. Weight, 47 kg. Appearance, 90 points, 100 points full score. Number of people she has been with, 0. Marital status, unmarried. Yuan Shui's favorability towards the host, 0. Oh, are all Qi-gathering third-stage experts so impressive? He endured such torture without compromising, and even held a grudge against him. Are all these martial artists like him, strong in limbs but simple in mind? He merely wanted to ask him something. Did it have to turn into an enmity? Chen Bo also chuckled. However, he truly hadn't targeted any university lecturers yet. Wasn't this just providing him with material? Bastard. I'll remember this grudge today. I'll kill you one day. As soon as the pain from the Tai divine needles subsided slightly, Yuan Chao immediately gritted his teeth and roared furiously. Chen Bo also chuckled. Can't you calm down and listen to what I have to say? Since he harbored ill will towards him and was bound to the system, Chen Bo had no intention of indulging him further. How do you plan to kill me? By having your sister Yuan Shui drain me dry. Upon hearing Yuan Shui's name, Yuan Chao immediately glared at Chen Bo like an enraged beast. How dare you insult my sister? I'll fight you to the death. Ding, anger value from Yuan Chao 110. Current total anger value, 4,190 points. Ding, a critical hit of over 100 anger points has been generated. Reward, speed attribute +1. Current host attributes, strength, 18, speed, 16, stamina, 15.
Hihi, Chenbo guessed correctly.
Although the system didn't give a hint, their names alone suggested they were siblings. With your meager strength, what do you have to fight me with? Stab. Another needle pierced him. Ah! You bastard, don't get cocky. My sister is a chi-gathering peak expert. 10 minutes later, Chen Bo couldn't help but praise Yuan Chao, the thunderous hand. Under such excruciating pain, like scraping bone and cutting flesh, he managed to endure for 10 whole minutes. A chi-gathering third-stage expert was indeed terrifyingly powerful. Big brother, can you please put away your silver needle first? If you want to know something, just ask. Yuan Chao finally couldn't hold on any longer and cried out in agony and pleading. First, tell me, what exactly is a so-called martial artist? Yuan Chao looked at Chen Bo in astonishment. Big brother, you knocked me out with 2 slaps. Your strength must have already entered the martial artist stage, right? You actually don't know what a martial artist is. Stab. A silver needle quickly pierced Yuan Chao's arm. Next, another heart-wrenching scream. How dare you question me? I ask, you answer, understand. Yuan Chao glared fiercely at Chen Bo, but he didn't dare to resist at all. Not only could he not beat Chen Bo, but he was also filled with fear of the silver needle in Chen Bo's hand. So, he told Chen Bo everything he knew about martial artists, holding nothing back. According to Yuan Chao's introduction, martial arts are divided into 5 major realms: Chi-Gathering Realm, Inner Chi Realm, Grandmaster Realm, Superman Realm, and God Realm. Each major martial arts realm is further divided into 9 minor realms. That is, from 1st level to 9th level, with 9th level being the peak. Only after reaching the 9th level of the current realm can one break through and advance to the next major realm. The Chi-Gathering Realm, as the name suggests, is about gathering vital energy within the body to unleash strength far beyond that of ordinary people during combat. And each minor realm is a container for gathering vital energy. This is like a mineral water bottle. With each increase in a minor realm, the capacity of this mineral water bottle will increase accordingly, allowing more vital energy to be gathered, and thus, stronger power to be unleashed. Looking at it this way, Yuan Chao, being at the Chi-Gathering 3rd stage, was merely a beginner's trash. Yet, the combat power of such trash already far surpassed ordinary people. Even when encountering a muscular man like Zhang Junjie, he could easily defeat 5 opponents and still have the strength to fight 10. This realm merely represents the cultivation of each martial artist, like the mineral water in a bottle. No matter how much is gathered, if it cannot be released, it can only be used for strengthening the body. To transform the gathered vital energy into released power, one must practice corresponding cultivation techniques. And the cultivation technique Yuan Chao learned was a technique called Sky-Splitting Fist. No wonder he could instantly burst his clothes. But Chen Bo didn't understand why his briefs didn't burst along with his clothes. Could they be made of special material? Chapter 115. Inner Chi Realm is about converting the gathered spiritual energy into one's own inner chi, developing human potential, activating the vital essence contained within the body, and becoming a completely new, unique energy. This energy is extremely violent, incomparable to what those in the Qi-gathering realm possess. This is equivalent to the internal martial arts in wuxia novels. For those who reach this realm, splitting mountains and rocks and scaling walls are basic operations. In the Grandmaster realm, the inner Qi within the body discards impurities, becoming condensed and pure, and the body undergoes transformation through tempering. The external projection of true Qi and the protective aura of true Qi are the hallmarks of the Grandmaster realm. Catching bullets barehanded and dealing with Grandmaster-level powerhouses makes guns seem easy. Superman realm. As the name suggests, martial artists who enter the Superman realm will break free from the limitations of their own physical bodies and nature, gaining abilities that transcend nature. These abilities are collectively referred to as superpowers or special abilities, such as fire control, alchemy, ice manipulation, and so on. As for the God realm, that is a legend. Even Yuan Chao doesn't know what kind of abilities a God realm possesses, because it is too distant for him. He only knows that once a person enters the Grandmaster realm, he is a top-tier talent in the entire country, enjoying endless glory and wealth. Not to mention the God realm, which only exists in legends. That would simply be a living god on earth. After hearing this, Chun Bo felt it was simply unbelievable. Wuxia, superpowers, and even gods, which he had only read about in novels before, had all appeared. He suddenly felt that this world was extremely absurd, yet it also seemed reasonable. Since even a system has appeared, what are mere martial artists? Many more questions arose in his mind. Since martial artists are so formidable, many people should be scrambling to learn martial arts. So why have I never heard of such formidable beings before? Chun Bo asked Yuan Chao, his eyes clear. Yuan Chao was stunned for a moment. Could it be that this guy truly doesn't know about the world of martial artists and just knocked him out with brute force? Yuan Chao also felt absurd at this moment. Chun Bo's expression didn't seem faked, and he had no reason to fake it for him. Given his fear of Chun Bo's brute force, Yuan Chao spoke truthfully. Becoming a martial artist is not an easy task. Without a legacy, one might never come into contact with this realm in a lifetime. Legacy? Yes, just like the martial arts in novels, they have been passed down from generation to generation since ancient times. There are two common ways to obtain a martial arts legacy. One is to join a martial arts sect, and after being recognized by the sect, you can obtain its legacy. The other is family legacy. Martial arts families in this world will select talented individuals with martial arts aptitude from their families and bestow the legacy upon them, allowing them to become martial artists. Of course, a very small number of people also obtain legacies scattered among the populace through serendipitous encounters, thus becoming martial artists. There is also an even more important reason. Cultivating a martial artist requires resources that ordinary people simply cannot afford. Each level up in the Qi-gathering realm costs at least over $1 million in resources, and the higher the level, the more resources are consumed. Cultivating a Qi-gathering peak martial artist requires at least 100 million. And cultivating an inner Qi realm powerhouse requires resources exceeding 1 billion, and this is just for an entry-level inner Qi realm powerhouse. Each time an inner Qi realm powerhouse advances a realm, the required materials amount to tens of billions. By the time one reaches the Grandmaster level or Superman realm, the resources consumed are simply astronomical. Which ordinary family can afford such expenses? Aside from martial arts sects and prominent families, no one can withstand such consumption. Therefore, the number of people who can become martial artists in this world is very small, and there are conventions among governments prohibiting martial artists from participating in or attending any sports competitions. Thus, it's very normal for ordinary people not to come into contact with them. Yuan Chao introduced this with a proud expression, because he was one of those very few martial artists. In that case, Yuan Chao's Qi-gathering third stage was indeed a very formidable existence. According to Yuan Chao, as long as he was willing, he could immediately become a government employee. As for which department, he could only wait for the state's assignment. But no matter which department he was ultimately assigned to, his treatment would not be bad. But Chun Bo still didn't understand. Was there still a need to become a martial artist in this peaceful era? What if you become a grandmaster? Even if someone attacks you, as long as you fight back, it's mutual combat. Moreover, with grandmaster-level skills, killing someone in minutes could even land you in trouble. Why bother? If it's to become a civil servant, it's better to study hard and take exams seriously. And spending over 100 million to become a civil servant, is that civil servant's salary really worth it? Is it really to become a god? Seeing Chun Bo ask such a question, Yuan Chao's eyes were full of disdain. At this moment, he was certain that Chun Bo was an ignorant rookie. But he didn't mind giving Chun Bo, this rookie, a crash course. After all, the silver needles in Chun Bo's hand really hurt when they pricked him. So, Yuan Chao once again explained in detail to Chun Bo. Personnel who become civil servants through martial arts are different from ordinary people. Firstly, in terms of treatment, martial artists' treatment is more than 10 times that of ordinary people. Moreover, civil service is not the only path for martial artists. The country needs such talents in all aspects. Once you become an inner chi realm master, major financial groups around the world will extend olive branches to you. However, most inner chi realm martial artists will continue to serve in their own sects and families, and very few will accept external employment. If you can enter the Superman realm, then you are simply supreme, unmatched in heaven and earth. The number of Superman realm existences in the entire world does not exceed 100. Now, regarding conflicts between martial artists are strictly forbidden from attacking ordinary people. Once discovered, they will face very severe punishment. As for conflicts between martial artists, that is not handled by the police department. Instead, there are higher departments that deal with such issues, and the method of handling it is that the strong prevail. If two martial artists have a conflict and fight, even if one party dies, the victorious party will not face legal accountability for it. Because this is the world of martial arts. Entering this world is equivalent to signing a death pact. Although you won't face legal sanctions, it's best to check the other party's background before acting. Martial artists are not just individuals. Behind them is a powerful force. Before acting, you'd best consider whether you can withstand the retaliation of the force behind the other party. At this point, Yuan Chao gazed at Chun Bo with a sinister charm. Grandson, now you know who you offended tonight, right? I am a disciple of Songfeng Hall. If you know what's good for you, stab. A silver needle precisely pierced Yuan Chao's thigh. Ah! Why don't you tell me, what kind of punishment will a martial artist receive for attacking an ordinary person? Recalling that Yuan Chao, a chi-gathering third-stage martial artist, had attacked Yang Hong, Chun Bo's anger suddenly flared up. Chapter 116. If a martial artist harms an ordinary person, the lighter punishment is 50 lashes, while the heavier punishment is the crippling of their cultivation, reducing them to an ordinary person. After a wave of pain, Yuan Chao gasped for breath. Then you still dared? When I attacked your friend, I really didn't use any vital energy. If I had, his body would already be cold. As the pain subsided, Yuan Chao's expression became arrogant again.
Chun Bo's mouth twitched.
This kid was really resilient, remembering the beating but not the pain. So, not using vital energy doesn't count as a violation? Not exactly. Any physical confrontation counts, because a martial artist's physical fitness far surpasses that of an ordinary person. Then for your actions tonight, a lashing is definitely in order, right? Chun Bo asked in a deep voice. Tisk, what's there to be afraid of? Yuan Chao scoffed indifferently, speaking with a sense of impunity. Such rules are just for show. Do you really think I'll be punished for this? That's impossible. Oh no, if those old men found out, I might get a severe scolding. So, the people who carry out the punishment are the sects or families to which the martial artists belong? Bingo, you guessed it. If a martial artist from a certain family causes trouble outside, their family head takes care of it. This is a consensus in the martial arts world. Seeing Yuan Chao's defiant expression, Chun Bo had already guessed the general situation. Look at those scoundrels in the national football team. They have no ability, no achievements, yet they can be so arrogant and overbearing. Do you expect a group of martial artists, whose abilities far exceed those of ordinary people and who are proud and haughty, to completely abide by martial arts rules? That was impossible. When it came to bullying ordinary people, all martial artists were beneficiaries. As long as things didn't escalate, everyone turned a blind eye, and it was considered over. Which family didn't have a few mischievous kids? Would they really cripple their cultivation? The resources they spent to cultivate a martial artist were considerable, so how could they bear to do it? So, the best solution was, if a child from a certain family caused trouble, their respective family would take them back for a minor punishment as a warning, and that would be the end of it. Anyway, everyone was from a good background. Why insist on dwelling on someone else's minor mistakes? It was like children who grew up in the same compound. Which family's child hadn't climbed roofs, skipped school, or gotten into fights? Dwelling on it would only harm everyone's harmony. This was human nature. Chun Bo did not continue to dwell on this issue. What good would his dwelling do? This world would not change because of his contemplation. If someone made him unhappy, he would make the other person even more unhappy. He wouldn't tolerate them one bit. Anyway, disputes between martial artists did not involve criminal acts. The problem was that Chun Bo was not yet sure if he had such strength. He had overwhelming strength against Yuan Chao, who was at the Qi Gathering 3rd stage, but what about encountering an inner Qi realm, Grandmaster realm, or even Superman realm practitioner? He still needed to figure out what realm his current strength was in first. How do you determine what realm a martial artist is in? Asking Yuan Chao, a Qi Gathering 3rd stage expert, was the quickest way to get an answer to this question. Martial artists can sense each other's strength using their martial soul, but it's only effective for those below their own level or roughly at the same level. For example, I can easily determine the realm of martial artists below Qi Gathering 5th level, but above Qi Gathering 5th level it becomes very blurry. For some martial artists whose strength far exceeds mine, my martial soul can't sense their strength at all. According to Yuan Chao, Chun Bo's strength should be significantly greater than his. Chun Bo tried to sense Yuan Chao. 10 seconds later, there was no reaction whatsoever. He gave up and decided to ask Yuan Chao directly. Can you sense what stage of a martial artist I belong to? Yuan Chao stared at Chun Bo, then frowned and asked doubtfully, You're not a martial artist, are you? I can't feel any vital energy fluctuations from you. In fact, Yuan Chao was also unwilling to believe this fact. He knew that his splitting sky fist cultivation gave him a body of copper skin and iron bones, with several times the defense of martial artists at the same level. Yet Chun Bo had knocked him out with 2 slaps, which showed what a terrifying existence he was. Moreover, with that incredibly skillful and agonizing acupuncture technique, how could Chun Bo be an ordinary person? He had considered that Chun Bo might be an inner Qi realm Grand Elder whose realm far surpassed his own. But even an inner Qi realm Grand Elder couldn't completely conceal the vital energy within their body. Only upon reaching the Grandmaster level could one achieve such a state of inner brilliance and restraint. Coupled with Chun Bo's complete lack of knowledge about martial artist theory, Yuan Chao could only conclude that Chun Bo was merely an ordinary person with abnormal strength. This answer somewhat surprised Chun Bo. His various attributes already far exceeded those of normal people, yet he hadn't even entered the path of a martial artist. That shouldn't be the case. Chun Bo asked about martial artist information again before letting Yuan Chao go. According to the information provided by Yuan Chao, the martial arts forces in Yangqing were divided into 3 families, 4 factions, and 5 halls. Among them, the 3 families had the greatest strength, followed by the 4 factions, while the strength of the 5 halls varied. And his Songfeng Hall's martial arts power was the weakest in all of Yangqing. Of course, Yuan Chao would not admit that they were the weakest. The prowess of Songfeng Hall did not lie in traditional martial arts, but in medicine. Dragon Country's medicine was profound and extensive, and their Songfeng Hall was the inheritor of Dragon Country's medicine. As martial artists, who hadn't been injured or needed pills to advance their realm. Although Songfeng Hall's martial arts power was not high, their status was relatively respectable. After explaining everything, Yuan Chao, wearing only briefs and wrapped in a blanket, left, looking quite disheveled. Chun Bo too fell into deep thought. It seemed that the skills obtained from the system's lottery were not useless after all. According to Yuan Chao, with Chun Bo's exquisite Tai Wei divine needles, Working for one of the three great families would earn him at least 100 million yuan per year. If he could join a central enterprise, his annual salary would be over 1 billion yuan. Compared to that, the 1 billion yuan cash prize with a 50% chance of winning in the system no longer seemed appealing at all. Besides, the Tai Wei Divine Needles weren't skills like Qilin Star Step, Pangu Fist Technique, and Turing Doppelganger all god-level skills? With these skills, making money would be incredibly easy. Perhaps in the system's value system, the 1 billion yuan cash prize was the least valuable. No wonder the chance of winning was as high as 50%, while the chances of winning the other numerous prizes were less than 1 in 1,000. Often, the prizes with the smallest winning odds were the most valuable ones. This was like the thank you for your patronage message you get when buying beer. The chance of getting it was certainly higher than getting a buy one get one free offer. Looking at it this way, he couldn't really blame his bad luck for not winning the 1 billion yuan cash prize. On the contrary, he was incredibly lucky, winning extremely rare divine skills every time. Oh, the only time he was unlucky was when he won that Lamborghini SVJ, which was only worth 10 million yuan. Thinking of this, Chen Bo, who had originally been very satisfied with the metallic silver Lamborghini SVJ, suddenly felt that this supercar was not appealing at all. Only a little over 10 million, who was he looking down on? Chapter 117. Outside the Xindehui KTV lobby. The stage, which should have been a dazzling display of lights, passion, and endless revelry, was eerily silent. Everyone present was holding their phones, watching the cruise ship feast unfold in Yi Zheqi's live stream. Holy cow, holy cow! The gifts have already surpassed 40 million. How much money does President Bo's account actually have? What's his limit? Who knows? Just now, President Zhang glanced at President Bo's back end, and that terrified look in his eyes. I'd guess the funds in there are definitely not less than 100 million. President Bo is amazing. With that kind of money, he could become a shareholder of Tiger Eye app, right? You're thinking too small. Even if President Bo wanted to buy the entire Tiger Eye app, I wouldn't be surprised. Oh my God! Could President Bo be a celestial dragon? How does he seem even more incredible than Lan Lan? At a booth in the center of the crowd. Jingheng, why don't you ask President Bo if he can stop? It's already over 40 million. I'm losing my confidence now. Zhang Xinyang was in a difficult position, sweat starting to bead on his forehead. Uncle, I'm losing my confidence too. How about you do the swiping? Lu Jingheng's head shook like a rattle drum instantly. Zhang Xinyang felt immense pressure. Although he could stop at any time, President Bo had instructed him not to stop until he returned. If it were anyone else, Zhang Xinyang wouldn't feel too much pressure. But this was President Bo. After witnessing President Bo's inhumanly lavish power, Zhang Xinyang increasingly felt that President Bo's background was unfathomable. Those second-generation rich kids were joking about President Bo being a celestial dragon, and Zhang Xinyang thought this guess was very plausible. It's said that these celestial dragons, when shopping abroad, would rent out entire malls to browse at their leisure. In the common person's understanding, paying the bill for the entire Xindehui KTV was already considered an extremely impressive act. Who would have thought that the extravagance of celestial dragons was to rent out an entire mall just to go shopping? This had completely exceeded everyone's understanding. Even the two Ma dads could only be considered poor in front of celestial dragons. Therefore, Zhang Xinyang didn't dare to stop. If he upset President Bo, the consequences would be unimaginable. Although he had billions in assets, his actual usable funds were only a few tens of millions. This was equivalent to pouring all his liquid assets into it. Only someone of his financial standing would have the guts to keep swiping. If it were anyone else, they would have panicked long ago. Zhang Xinyang deliberately slowed down his hand speed, maintaining a rhythm of one luxury cruise ship every 3 seconds. This pace was just right, neither too fast nor too slow. Just as Zhang Xinyang was already panicking and his fingertips began to tremble, Chen Bo finally returned. His conversation with Yuan Chao had lasted 2 hours. Seeing Chen Bo return, Zhang Xinyang felt a huge weight lifted off his shoulders, and he instantly felt refreshed. Zhang Xinyang made no attempt to hide his stress. It was his first time realizing that gifting a female streamer was such an exhausting task. Moreover, he was spending someone else's money, which made him even more uneasy. President Bo, you're finally back. We've already gifted over 40 million to the streamer here. I'm under immense pressure. What?
Chen Bo frowned.
Zhang Xinyang's backside instantly tightened. He thought President Bo was angry. This was understandable. He had originally intended to take advantage of President Bo, using his popularity to boost his artist's fame. Now, the two streamers combined had cost him 50 million. Anyone would be furious. Zhang Xinyang wondered if President Bo was displeased with his calculations, thinking he had intentionally dug a pit for him. But even if President Bo had indeed intentionally dug a pit for him, what could he do? President Bo, who was suspected to be a celestial dragon, was someone he truly couldn't afford to offend. Zhang Xinyang was already calculating in his mind which assets he should sell to compensate President Bo. Zhang Xinyang wasn't the only one with such thoughts. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became oppressive. But Chun Bo's next words made everyone's jaws drop. President Zhang, your hand speed isn't up to par. Only 40 million in 2 hours? Could it be that you've been overindulging recently and are losing your touch?
Chen Bo teased.
The entire place instantly fell silent. Everyone was dumbfounded. Their worldview shattered. Listen, just listen. Is that even something a human would say? It turned out he wasn't angry. He was just annoyed that Zhang Xinyang was too slow. In the eyes of these rich second-generation kids, what difference was there between Chun Bo's actions and those of Lan Lan, the celestial dragon who rented out an entire shopping mall? If there had to be a difference, President Bo's actions were far more extravagant than those of Lan Lan, the celestial dragon. At this moment, everyone in their hearts was convinced that President Bo was one of the celestial dragons from above. Such a godlike figure. They absolutely had to curry favor with him. At this moment, the eyes of these rich second-generation kids, when they looked at Chun Bo, were shining. Everyone was awed by Chun Bo's extravagance and powerful aura. 50 million was like a few dollars to an ordinary person in his eyes. If this isn't a divine tycoon, what is? Today I learned that even the elder Mr. Lee from Hong Kong would only be considered poor in front of President Bo. I once thought I was a rich person, full of superiority, but at this moment, I realize that I am also a poor nobody. President Bo, although I am older than you, I am willing to revere you as a big boss. Would you be willing to take me on as your subordinate? President Bo, I'm also willing to be your subordinate. President Bo, if you don't mind, I'd like to have a one-night stand with you. I promise not to hold you responsible. President Bo, I want to have a little monkey baby with you. Thank you all for coming tonight. From now on, we are brothers. How about we all add each other as friends? If you ever need my help, just say the word. Chun Bo said courteously. If you don't have matching abilities, everyone will just treat these words as mere pleasantries. But if you possess President Bo's power, even pleasantries will be treated as sacred words. Chun Bo didn't know how many of these people were sincere, but it didn't matter. All the world's hustle and bustle is for profit. All the world's comings and goings are for profit. These rich second-generation kids from affluent families would be his network from now on. With these connections, he could practically walk sideways in Yangcheng from now on. Once these people took over their family businesses and formed an alliance, their power would be unstoppable. Everyone took out their phones and added Chun Bo's WeChat. In just 2 minutes, Chun Bo added nearly 200 WeChat contacts, especially the girls, who were incredibly excited. Being able to add President Bo's WeChat would be enough for them to brag about for several years. President Bo, can I also add your WeChat? A charming laugh suddenly came from the crowd. Chun Bo looked in the direction of the sound and was instantly stunned. Holy cow! What a captivating beauty! A stunning figure in a fiery red dress gracefully walked over. The beauty pursed her lips, looking at Chun Bo with a seductive smile. Under the lights, her skin was as fair as a freshly peeled water chestnut, and a tiny beauty mark at the corner of her eye added a touch of playful charm. Her attire was proper and elegant, like a well-bred young lady. Yet her every glance and turn subtly revealed a perfectly balanced hint of allure. Could this be the legendary innate charm? Chapter 118. Isn't that Ouyang Qin, the publicly acknowledged most beautiful woman in the jewelry industry in Yangqing? Holy crap, that figure is amazing. No wonder those bosses are all falling over themselves for her. If I could get one night with her, I'd die happy. Tisk, most beautiful woman in the jewelry industry, my ass. To put it nicely, she's a socialite. To put it harshly, she's just a common whore. Yi Hao said disdainfully. Young Master Yi, judging by your tone, it seems the rumors about your dad and Ouyang Qin are true. She's not really going to become your stepmother, is she? Haha. If sleeping with my dad was all it took to become my stepmother, then I'd have hundreds, if not thousands. That would kill my old man. Holy crap, your dad is awesome. He really knows how to have fun. TSK, who doesn't have fun when they have money? President Bo's fun is much more high class than my dad's. I wonder what it takes to get Ouyang Qin? I wonder if a young master like me can become a fellow traveler with your dad. Get lost. As his physical attributes continuously improved, Chun Bo's hearing was now terrifyingly sharp. Even though Yi Hao and his fellow second-generation heirs kept their voices very low, Chun Bo still heard their conversation clearly. Chun Bo immediately lost interest in Ouyang Qin. Although he was a bit of a fox borrowing a tiger's prestige, he was still the magnificent and outstanding President Bo in the eyes of these second-generation heirs. A socialite who's been with everyone wants to manipulate him? She must be dreaming. If Chun Bo hadn't tasted fine cuisine, he wouldn't mind trying the taste of the most beautiful woman in the jewelry industry. But he had been eating too well recently, and his palate had long become discerning. Even though Ouyang Qin was naturally enchanting and full of charm, her attraction to Chun Bo had already been halved. However, the next second, the system's interface displayed Ouyang Qin's information. Name Ouyang Qin. Occupation: General Manager of Ouyang Jewelry. Age: 28 years old. Height: 172 cm. Weight: 51 kg. Looks: 94 points out of 100. Number of passengers: 0. Marital status: unmarried. Ouyang Qin's favorability towards the host: -30. Hey, among the 200 people bound to the system who harbored ill will towards him, there really were some whose most cherished woman was Ouyang Qin. Chun Bo checked the system. There were even 3 people bound to Nanshan whose most cherished woman was Ouyang Qin. It was no surprise. A woman like Ouyang Qin, with her natural charm and allure, was born to entice men. Otherwise, how could she thrive among men and earn the title of the most beautiful woman in the jewelry industry? What surprised Chun Bo was, the Ouyang Qin, whom Yi Hao and others called a common whore, had a number of passengers of 0. Rumors truly kill people. This made Chun Bo look at Ouyang Qin in a new light. This was simply the epitome of a female who passes through a field of flowers without a single petal sticking to her. To remain undefiled in the hands of those powerful and influential figures, those wolves in sheep's clothing, one could imagine how formidable Ouyang Qin's methods were. What surprised Chun Bo even more was that Ouyang Qin's favorability towards him was -30. Everyone here tonight knew his identity as President Bo, and he had also shown them his inhumanly lavish strength. His reputation had long reached the level where it attracted swarms of beauties, eager to throw themselves at him. But this Ouyang Qin, her favorability towards him was actually negative. And the negative value wasn't low. Something abnormal must have a reason. Chun Bo was certain that Ouyang Qin had other motives for approaching him. But who's afraid of whom? Since she was already bound to him, Chun Bo also wanted to experience the taste of the most beautiful woman in Yangqing's jewelry industry. I've long admired President Bo's great name, which inspires admiration. This humble woman is Ouyang Qin, General Manager of Ouyang Jewelry. I sincerely wish to befriend President Bo, and I hope President Bo can offer more guidance. Ouyang Qin's eyes secretly conveyed a flirtatious look, gazing charmingly at Chun Bo, while pulling out an exquisite business card and handing it to him.
Chun Bo smiled.
She clearly had 0 passengers, but was openly teasing and seducing him. This Ouyang Chin was quite interesting. Since you want to play the foxy temptress, I'll just have to play along and act like a reckless man taken by lust. So, Chun Bo quickly took the opportunity to grope her while taking the business card. Who knew Ouyang Chin seemed to have anticipated it, and just as Chun Bo was about to touch the back of her hand, she quickly pulled her hand back. She didn't give Chun Bo any chance to grope her. Chun Bo's brows furrowed almost imperceptibly. What's the meaning of this? Coming to show favor to me, but not even letting me touch her hand? Good. Very good. Playing hard to get? Woman, you have successfully caught President Bo's attention. President Bo, next week, Ouyang Jewelry, in conjunction with several leading jewelry companies in Yangqing, will hold a charity auction. If President Bo could grace us with his presence that evening, the entire event would be greatly honored. Ouyang Chin said generously and charmingly. An auction? All right, I wonder if Miss Ouyang is included among the auction items that evening? If so, I will do my utmost to acquire her. Ouyang Chin was stunned for a moment. She hadn't expected Chun Bo's attitude to be so frivolous. But that was fine. It played right into her hands. President Bo loves to joke. How could a humble woman like me compare to those priceless treasures? Ouyang Chin smiled delicately. Ah, Miss Ouyang, there's no need to belittle yourself. In my heart, you are far more precious than those metals and stones. Hee hee. Ouyang Chin smiled radiantly. Sweet talk is something every woman finds hard to resist, especially sweet talk coming from President Bo. If Ouyang Chin didn't have enough self-control, she would probably have fallen for him immediately. If President Bo truly thinks this humble woman is precious, you can invite me privately. I can certainly satisfy President Bo's body and mind. Ouyang Chin's captivating phoenix eyes stared directly at Chun Bo. At this moment, Chun Bo's mind felt as if it had been hooked by some force. This feeling was like first love. No time like the present. How about I invite Miss Ouyang for a private meeting tonight? Ouyang Chin chuckled and leaned her mouth close to Chun Bo's ear, speaking in a very soft voice, only audible to Chun Bo. President Bo, my aunt hasn't left yet. Next time. Finally, Ouyang Chin gently exhaled a breath near Chun Bo's ear. The warm breath, carrying a faint, delicate fragrance, made Chun Bo's ear itch unbearably, stirring his desires. Holy crap, this woman deliberately tempts me, then doesn't let me have my way. After all that teasing, she won't even let me touch her hand. Does she really take me for one of those lecherous old men? Chun Bo was displeased. He didn't know what Ouyang Chin ultimately wanted to do. But at this moment, Chun Bo was determined. He wanted to have Ouyang Chin. One day, he would make this woman who teased him pay the price. I will definitely be at next week's auction. I hope Miss Ouyang's aunt doesn't stay too long. My patience is limited. Chun Bo deliberately raised his voice. You want to play hard to get and still hide it? I won't indulge that bad habit of yours. Ouyang Chin's cheeks immediately flushed. She hadn't expected Chun Bo to say it loudly enough for everyone to hear. In the past, when she teased those powerful figures, every one of them would put on a gentlemanly facade for the sake of their dignity. Why didn't this Chun Bo play by the rules? Chapter 119. President Bo, Ouyang Chin is not a simple woman. She has many sugar daddies supporting her. Getting entangled with such a woman will only cause trouble. If you like beautiful women, President Bo, then a few of our company streamers are quite good. They are young, beautiful, and vibrant. Much better than Ouyang Chin. After Ouyang Chin left, Zhang Xinyang couldn't help but advise him. President Zhang, rumors stop at the wise. I don't think Ouyang Chin is that kind of person. President Bo, you are still too kind and too quick to trust people. I'm not afraid to tell you, this Ouyang Chin also had a thing with my dad. Don't I know my dad's nature? Which woman falls into his hands without being played with every trick in the book? Yi Hao also spoke up to persuade him. Haha. I didn't expect your dad's eyesight to be as sharp as mine. He knows good stuff. Being sworn brothers with your dad wouldn't be bad. Let's invite your dad out sometime, and we brothers can have a drink.
Chun Bo laughed heartily.
Damn it, President Bo. You're even taking advantage of me. If you and my dad become brothers, What does that make us? Separate, separate. We're all brothers. Seeing Chun Bo's insistence, the others didn't try to persuade him further. Sharing a mistress was no longer a new thing among the wealthy elite. Some rich men even kept several extremely beautiful women specifically for entertaining guests. For example, Hangtai's song and dance troupe. In the eyes of these powerful figures, these women were like clothes. You wear them today, I wear them tomorrow. Harmonious use. After energetic singing and dancing, a round of bragging and flattery, it was already past 12 o'clock. Brothers, that's enough for tonight. Let's gather again when we have a chance. Chun Bo left Zindui KTV with Yang Hong and Zhang Jingwen. All expenses for the night were paid by Chun Bo. But Zhang Xinyang didn't take a single cent from him. He had already spent 50 million on his artists, so how could he dare to take Chun Bo's money? That would be ignorant. If others found out, Zhang Xinyang wouldn't be able to stay in Yangqing. Not only did Zhang Xinyang not take a single cent from Chun Bo, but he also gave him a black card. With this black card, all of Chun Bo's future consumption at Zindui would be free. Zhang Xinyang secretly wished Chun Bo would come every day. President Bo's patronage was more impressive than investing tens of millions in renovations. Its value far exceeded the value of this black card. The 50 million Chun Bo spent on Zhang Xinyang was not in vain. Not only did he gain the approval of this group of second-generation rich kids in Yangqing, but he also gained over 2,000 points of anger value without mockery or attracting hatred. The total anger value currently displayed by the system had reached 5,210 points. He had obtained 5 lottery opportunities. After previous experiences, Chun Bo's excitement for the lottery was no longer as urgent. He was no longer fixated on the 1 billion cash prize. The golden eyes rewarded by the system after Lu Fei's favorability reached 95 points had not yet been used. With golden eyes, getting rich was not a difficult task. Yangqing New City Science and Technology Entrepreneurship Park. Inside the MCN office created by Zhang Xinyang. Due to President Bo's arrival and extravagant gift-giving, Long Kai's and Yi Zheqi's live stream popularity quickly topped the charts and stayed there. By early morning, Long Kai's fans had skyrocketed from 300,000 to over 2 million, and Yi Zheqi's fans had surged from 400,000 to over 4 million. A tenfold increase, and the growth was still continuing. After all, Chun Bo had spent 40 million in her live stream. After tonight, becoming top streamers on Huyen or even other platforms was no longer a dream for them. But at this moment, they were feeling uneasy. Because their boss, Zhang Xinyang, had called them for a meeting after the broadcast. A meeting in the early hours of the morning was something that had never happened before. They didn't know what their boss wanted to do. Thinking of rumors about other MCN companies, most MCN bosses would find ways to sexually exploit their artists before they became famous. On one hand, it could satisfy their perverted desires, and on the other hand, they could use this secret to completely control the artists, preventing them from daring to switch companies or betray them. In such circumstances, most artists would choose to compromise. After all, huge profits were right in front of them. As long as they were willing to accept the exploitation, they could soar to success and become a phoenix. If they didn't accept, the profits within reach would instantly vanish, and the company had the ability to completely blacklist them. If the boss really made demands of them, they truly didn't know what to do. They dreamed of becoming famous, exploding in popularity, and becoming top streamers. But they were also unwilling to become the company's money-making tools, or even gifts to expand the boss's network. President Zheng, what do you need us for so late? Long Qi asked nervously. Stand up and turn around for me to see. Zhang Xinyang held a lit cigarette between his fingers, his gaze much like a master craftsman appraising a technician. Long Kai and Yi Zheqi immediately became flustered, but they still stood up and turned a circle in front of Zhang Xinyang. Hush! Looking at the two youthful, vibrant girls, Zhang Xinyang couldn't help but whistle. However, Zhang Xinyang's whistle instantly made Long Kai and Yi Zheqi's legs go weak with fright. Good figure, soft and lustrous skin. Not bad. Now there's an opportunity for you. It just depends on whether you know how to cherish it. President Zheng, we joined the company just to be honest streamers and earn some money for ourselves. We don't sell ourselves. Long Qi bravely said. Who said I want you to sell yourselves? I want to give you a chance to soar. President Zhang. We will work hard to earn money for the company. I don't want to soar. Zhang Xinyang's words almost made the two young girls cry. Nonsense. What are you thinking? What do you think of President Bo? Isn't he your tool, specifically for showering us with gifts and boosting our popularity? Zhang Xinyang let out an exasperated laugh. How could I have such influence to make President Bo my tool? Next, Zhang Xinyang briefly recounted the events of the night to Long Kai and Yi Jieqi. Until Zhang Xinyang finished speaking, both of them were simultaneously dumbfounded, their faces filled with disbelief. After a long while, Long Qi finally recovered from her shock and slowly spoke. President Zhang, do you mean that the gifts President Bo gave us tonight, our share of them will actually go into our pockets? Zhang Xinyang nodded solemnly. Wow, thank you, President Zhang. Thank you, President Bo. Long Kai and Yi Jieqi simultaneously exclaimed in surprise. Especially Yi Jieqi. Zhang Xinyang had used Chun Bo's account to spend 40 million on her. According to the contract, Yi Jieqi could get at least 10 million tonight. Happiness came too suddenly, making them a little disbelieving. After shouting excitedly for a while, they calmed down slightly. So, President Zhang, you called us tonight because you want us to thank President Bo properly? That's what we should do. We should thank President Bo in person. These are minor matters. President Bo is a very generous person. Zhang Xinyang paused, then continued. Honestly tell me, do you have boyfriends now? Chapter 120. President Zhang. Didn't the company already conduct an investigation when I joined? I really don't have a boyfriend. I don't either. Long Kai and Yi Jieqi said one after another. Hearing this, Zhang Xinyang sat up straight, extinguished the cigarette but in his hand in the ashtray, and then slowly said, That's good. Now I have a task for you. Zhang Xinyang explained his plan in detail to Long Kai and Yi Jieqi. President Zhang, do you mean for us to seduce President Bo? But we don't have any experience. Long Kai's temper was far more impatient than Yi Jieqi's. After understanding the task Zhang Xinyang had given them, she immediately frowned. Seduce is too strong a word. This is giving you an opportunity to pursue President Bo. A fair lady is a gentleman's good match, and men are the same. Excellent men are also objects of women's admiration. If you can gain President Bo's favor, it will be a blessing for your entire life. Your lives will be elevated by several levels. That's easy to say, but we also know our place. With our background and conditions, trying to win over President Bo is just dreaming. How could he look at streamers like us? Unless he just wants to play around. Long Kai said truthfully. Coming from the countryside, she only wanted to earn more money in the big city of Yangcheng to give her parents a good life back home. She was more clear-headed than most people, knowing her own limitations. She had never fantasized about stories like, the domineering CEO falls in love with me, or a sparrow flying onto a branch to become a phoenix. Yi Jieqi was the same. They were high school classmates, college classmates, and good friends who joined Zhang Xinyang's company as streamers at the same time. Now that Zhang Xinyang was asking them both to pursue the same man, they felt particularly awkward and uncomfortable. How about you try, and I'll pass? Yi Jieqi said timidly. Thank you, President Zhang and President Bo, for your kindness, but I'm afraid I can't handle it. Long Qi also intended to refuse. Their attitudes immediately angered Zhang Xinyang. This is an opportunity for you. Do you understand? You're not looking for such an excellent man as President Bo. Are you asking to find those young punks? Even if President Bo just wants to play around with you, so what? How many beautiful women dream of playing with President Bo? You need to broaden your horizons. How many years can you rely on this youth-dependent influencer career? If you follow President Bo, making you a big star is just a word from him. Besides, look at those big stars on screen. Which one didn't have a backer before they became famous? Which one didn't come up this way? To succeed, you must learn to give. And besides, that thing between men and women, who you do it with doesn't matter. Moreover, President Bo is so handsome. If this really works out, you won't lose anything at all. The angry Zheng Xinyang spoke while tapping on the table. The atmosphere became very oppressive. Soon, Zheng Xinyang's tone softened again. Of course, I'm not forcing you. If you really don't want to do it, I can find someone else. There's only one chance. I hope you cherish it. Here, I also make a promise to you. No matter which of you succeeds in gaining President Bo's favor, I will privately reward you with 10 million. If both of you succeed, then it's 10 million each. Such opportunities don't come often. A carrot after the stick. Zhang Xinyang made them generous promises. To get Long Kai and Yi Jiaqi to curry favor with Chen Bo, he had truly gone all out. He had many artists in his hands, but only these two were still clean. Chen Bo's taste was truly discerning. Among so many streamers, he only noticed these two. As for other female artists, many were prettier than them, but almost all of those beauties had been enjoyed by Zheng Xinyang. Some were even given as gifts to powerful figures in exchange for benefits. Originally, Zheng Xinyang's plan was to use President Bo's popularity to boost their fame, letting them see the hope and opportunity of becoming popular. Then, he would exploit their greed and desire to unofficially exploit them. They wouldn't cooperate? Heh. After shelving them for a period, he would demand an exorbitant compensation fee for breach of contract. Upon hearing this compensation fee, no girl failed to comply. This trick had been tried and tested, never failing. But tonight, he decided to offer these two women to Chen Bo. Even a woman like Ouyang Qin had caught President Bo's eye, so he didn't believe his two well-behaved girls wouldn't. Of course, he wasn't doing this to do anything to President Bo. He simply wanted to curry favor and ingratiate himself with President Bo. Under Zhang Xinyang's threats and inducements, Long Kai and Yi Jiaqi finally agreed. Just as Zhang Xinyang said, trying it wouldn't cost them anything. What if they succeeded? What they didn't know was that, once they failed, once Chen Bo found them unappealing, they would become commodities, gifts to be disposed of by Zhang Xinyang. Old Chen, is the account that tipped tens of millions to the streamer really yours? You're not using someone else's account to show off, are you? In the taxi, Yang Hong had not yet recovered from President Bo's inhumanly lavish spending. His face filled with disbelief. Zhang Jingwen's Ferrari SF90 only had 2 seats, so Chen Bo and Yang Hong chose to take a taxi. Meanwhile, Zhang Jingwen drove the 7 million yuan Ferrari SF90, following closely behind the taxi. Couldn't be blamed on Yang Hong for thinking this way. A brother he had grown up with, even comparing the length of their private parts, suddenly turned into a god-tier spendthrift who could casually throw away tens of millions as easily as sprinkling water. Anyone would find it incredible. Even if he won the lottery, he wouldn't dare to spend so lavishly. But the facts were right before his eyes. The respect and admiration of that group of rich second-generation heirs for Chen Bo didn't seem fake. And when he left, he glanced at the luxury cars parked in front of Zindahui. Rolls-Royce, Bentley, Ferrari 488, Lamborghini Aventador, Bugatti, Aston Martin, Koenigsegg. The Mercedes-Benz G-Class that Jun had secretly driven was the least expensive among this array of luxury cars. Even a car show didn't have such a complete collection of luxury cars. Was there still any need to doubt the identities of those rich second-generation heirs? Now the only explanation was that the account Chen Bo logged into was not his own. He had taken President Bo's account and was using it to borrow a tiger's prestige in front of this group of rich second-generation heirs. However, Yang Hong thinking this way was a good thing for Chen Bo. He was still wondering how to explain tonight's events to Yang Hong. If it were anyone else, he wouldn't bother explaining, but Yang Hong was his best brother. A brother with whom he had even compared the length of their private parts. Old Yang, you truly are the person who understands me best in this world. President Bo's alias is indeed my boss's. I am merely his shadow, only managing his account. Yang Hong nodded like a detective. I knew it. If you were President Bo, then I'd be Qin Shi Huang. Suddenly, Yang Hong's eyes lit up. Hey, Bozy, are there any restrictions when you use your boss's account? How about you tip me some too? I'll give you half back. Chapter 121. After dropping Yang Hong off at school, Chun Bo got into Zhang Jingwen's car. For some reason, after that brief conversation with Ouyang Qin, Chun Bo felt his desires were completely ignited. This feeling was like pouring a barrel of gasoline onto a bonfire. The flames exploded, and his lust burned fiercely. In the car, Zhang Jingwen's cheeks flushed under Chun Bo's intense gaze. "Brother Bo, why are you looking at me like that? You?"
I'm willing.
Zhang Jingwen wrapped her arms around Chun Bo's neck, looking at him with affectionate eyes. Holy crap, was she preparing a grand welcome for him? Tonight, Zhang Jingwen had witnessed Chun Bo's strength, comparable to a celestial dragon, and his king-like presence before those usually arrogant and conceited second-generation rich kids. Zhang Jingwen's desire to possess Chun Bo was stronger than ever. As for whether she could become Chun Bo's official girlfriend, she didn't care at all. Chun Bo understood the longing in her eyes and leaned in to cover Zhang Jingwen's full, sensual lips. The world spun until Zhang Jingwen's cheeks were crimson, her breathing erratic, and she showed symptoms of oxygen deprivation before Chun Bo finally released her. Honestly, Chun Bo really didn't like sports cars with such cramped spaces. Every time the passion flared, he couldn't stretch out. He'd have to get a Mercedes-Benz G-Class someday to experience its spacious interior. He drove the Ferrari SF90 at full speed. Spotting a 4-star hotel on the way, Chun Bo drove straight in without a second thought. Distant water can't quench immediate thirst. Now was not the time to be picky about hotels. He parked the car in front of the hotel, had Zhang Jingwen give the valet 200 yuan, and then Chun Bo impatiently pulled Zhang Jingwen into the hotel. Entering the hotel, he chose the presidential suite. The elegant and composed hotel receptionist didn't seem to notice Chun Bo's urgency. She rambled on and on about a lot of things. The gist was that since it was late, by logging into a certain platform and giving the hotel a 5-star review, they could stay in the presidential suite, originally priced at 29,800 yuan, for 9,800 yuan. Was he the kind of person who lacked those 20,000 yuan? Stop talking. Charge the full 29,800. Who are you looking down on? Full price, it must be full price. Chun Bo scolded as he swiped his card to pay. Ding. 29,800 yuan received. As long as Zhang Jingwen was with him, he could use the action fund. 20,000 yuan was just the cost of 4 luxury cruises. The elegant and composed receptionist was no longer composed. She had never seen a guest like this. In the past, even the wealthiest guests were happy to save 20,000 yuan with a few taps of their fingers. However, this young man insisted on paying the full price. This was the first time in her life she had encountered such a fool. Could there be something seriously wrong with his head? After receiving the payment, the receptionist immediately sped up and completed Chun Bo's check-in. They arrived at the top floor and entered the suite. Chun Bo had no mind to admire the luxurious and tasteful decor of the suite, which exuded an air of nobility. Nor did he notice the dazzling lights and starlight outside the huge floor-to-ceiling window, intertwining into a dreamlike scene. At this moment, all he cared about was whether the bed in the suite was big enough and soft enough. After closing the door, Chun Bo impatiently hugged Zhang Jingwen and kissed her wildly. Of course, his hands were not idle either. Zhang Jingwen was wearing a one-piece slip dress tonight. It had to be said, this dress was really convenient to take off. He just pushed the straps to the sides, and it naturally fell down. Although his movements weren't very skilled yet, with his experiences with Lu Fei and Lin Ruoshi, he could at least manage with ease. 1 hour later, Chun Bo lit a cigarette, and in his sage mode, he seemed a little melancholic. Because, in his eagerness, he had forgotten a very important thing. He forgot to hint to Zhang Junjie beforehand to fiercely rack up a wave of rage points. He recalled that night with Lu Fei, when Wang Hao's heartbreaking pain had directly contributed nearly 2,000 rage points to him. And there were several rage-critical hits. Missing such a good opportunity to farm rage points felt even worse than missing out on 100 million yuan. Seeing Chun Bo's melancholic expression, Zhang Jingwen's heart skipped a beat. She thought her performance just now hadn't satisfied Chun Bo. So she hugged Chun Bo from behind, her body's nervous warmth instantly transferring to him. A faint fragrance emanated from her hair. "Brother Bo, am I not good enough?" Chun Bo paused on the bed, extinguished his cigarette, and turned to embrace Zhang Jingwen. Actions spoke louder than words. "Ah!" Zhang Jingwen let out a surprised cry. Zhang Jingwen. Favorability +1. Current favorability, 95 points. Chun Bo, having re-entered Sage mode, suddenly became interested. Another bound target's favorability towards him had surpassed 95 points. He hoped this reward wouldn't be too useless. Ding! Congratulations to the host. The bound target Zhang Jingwen's favorability towards the host has reached 95 points. The system will provide the host with an epic reward. Ding! This epic reward is heterodimensional space. Heterodimensional space?
Chenbo exclaimed. Holy crap!
As a novel enthusiast, he was very familiar with heterospatial dimensions. He never thought he would one day possess his own heterodimensional space. Chun Bo quickly checked his heterodimensional space. His heterodimensional space was vast, as large as 10 football fields. It could not only store items but also carry living beings and even be used for farming. The air in the space was very rich, with not only sunlight but also a gurgling river. The description of the heterodimensional space also specifically noted that the concentration of vital energy in the space far exceeded that of the real world by 100-fold. However, Chun Bo was not yet a martial artist, so he had no idea how to use this vital energy. While the exhausted Zhang Jingwen was still sound asleep, Chun Bo picked up the ashtray from the bedside table, his eyes narrowing. The ashtray in his hand instantly vanished. And in the heterodimensional space in his mind, an identical ashtray suddenly appeared. This was how the ashtray from reality was placed into his heterodimensional space. With a thought, the ashtray from the heterodimensional space reappeared in his hand. Having a heterodimensional space was incredibly convenient. For a moment, Chun Bo wanted to put Zhang Jingwen into the space to test the effect of carrying living beings. But after thinking about it, he decided against it. He had just possessed her, and then to scare her half to death, that wouldn't be honorable. Moreover, this secret, which belonged to him, could not be known by anyone. He glanced at Zhang Jingwen, who was almost entirely crystal white. This sage time seemed a bit long. Looking at the 5,210 rage points in the system, Chun Bo decided to use all 5 lottery chances during this time. System. Start the lottery. As the thought arose, a dazzling, huge, colorful roulette wheel instantly appeared before Chun Bo's eyes. This roulette wheel was hidden in Chun Bo's consciousness. Even if Zhang Jingwen were beside him, she wouldn't be able to see it. Chapter 122. Let's go. As Chun Bo silently chanted, the dazzling, brilliant 7-colored roulette wheel in front of him began to spin rapidly. Watching the rapidly spinning roulette wheel, Chun Bo's heart couldn't help but grow tense. Although he no longer had the same urgency and anticipation for the 1 billion cash grand prize as before, he still yearned to get it. Who wouldn't want to experience being a billionaire? Although he could spend the action fund, it wasn't his own money after all, so he didn't feel as secure. The roulette wheel spun rapidly for 10 seconds. Stop! Chun Bo couldn't help but shout loudly. The sudden shout startled Zhang Jingwen, who was only covered by a sheet, revealing her snow-white skin. Darling, what's wrong? Nothing, go back to sleep, Chun Bo said with an awkward smile. At the same time, Chun Bo reached out and soothed Zhang Jingwen. Zhang Jingwen turned over and leaned closer to Chun Bo. Seeing that Chun Bo still didn't react, she re-entered a state of feigned sleep. Ding, 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 ding. The brilliant 7-colored roulette wheel finally stopped. Without surprise, the roulette pointer was 108,000 miles away from the 1 billion cash grand prize area. It finally stopped on a thin line that was barely perceptible to the naked eye. From the proportion of this thin line, it was not difficult to see that the probability of winning this time was extremely low. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a heaven-tier top-grade cultivation technique, Chaos Pure Yang skill. As the prompt sounded, a surge of information suddenly flooded into his mind. After Chun Bo received the information, he was immediately overjoyed. Cultivation techniques in the world are divided into 4 tiers: Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow, with Heaven tier being the strongest and Yellow tier the weakest. And each tier of cultivation technique is further divided into 3 grades: Top, Middle, and Bottom. A Heaven tier top-grade cultivation technique can be called a treasure of the world. Even among existing prominent families and major sects, there are only a handful of people who possess Heaven tier cultivation techniques. And these people who possess Heaven tier cultivation techniques are all leading figures in martial arts, individuals with immense power and influence. Chaos Pure Yang skill is precisely the highest grade Heaven tier top-grade cultivation technique, one of the most rigid and pure Yang cultivation techniques in the world. Chaos is the beginning of all things, and also the end of all things. It can be said to be the essence of everything. All things in heaven and earth are born from chaos, and after destruction, they eventually return to chaos. Chaos Pure Yang skill comes with Chaos Chi, which is extremely rigid and pure Yang, capable of destroying everything and swallowing up the 8 directions. But after Chun Bo looked at the cultivation difficulty of Chaos Pure Yang skill, the corner of his mouth couldn't help but twitch. To cultivate Chaos Pure Yang skill, the amount of Qi needed to advance one level is 10,000 times that of ordinary cultivation techniques. For example, to advance from Qi gathering first level to Qi gathering second level, others only need to fill 1 bottle of mineral water, while someone cultivating Chaos Pure Yang skill needs to fill 10,000 bottles of mineral water. This is merely the difficulty at the Qi gathering realm. As the level gets higher and higher, when an ordinary martial artist needs to fill a water tank, you will need to fill 10,000 water tanks. This difficulty can be described as epic. Not to mention after the Grandmaster realm. Others only need to fill a river, while you need to fill the entire ocean. Of course, the power of Chaos Pure Yang skill is not just 10,000 times stronger than ordinary techniques. Even a beginner at Qi gathering first level can challenge an inner Qi realm martial artist across levels without difficulty. Chaos Pure Yang skill is that strong, that unsolvable. Since he wants to become a martial artist, then he will cultivate this strongest cultivation technique in the world. What if it requires 10,000 times the Qi? Don't forget that Chun Bo already possesses an alternate dimension where the Qi is several times higher than in the current world. To fill the entire ocean is not an impossible task. His consciousness emerged from Chaos Pure Yang skill, and Chun Bo spun the 7-colored roulette wheel in front of him again. Ding, 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 ding. The pointer of the roulette will seem to never land in the red area that occupied half of the entire roulette wheel. This time, the pointer of the roulette will still stopped on a thin line barely perceptible to the naked eye. Presumably, this was also a prize with an extremely low chance of winning. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the Jade Pillow 36 Styles. The Jade Pillow 36 Styles? Is this a type of martial skill? From the information Yuan Chao provided, Chun Bo already knew. In the martial world, besides cultivation techniques, there are also martial skills. Cultivation techniques are equivalent to the internal martial arts in wuxia novels. Each martial artist can only cultivate one cultivation technique in their lifetime. Martial skills are equivalent to the moves in wuxia novels, where moves are used to draw out the internal cultivation technique to form killing blows. Compared to cultivation techniques, each martial artist can learn multiple martial skills. Soon, a surge of information suddenly flooded into his mind. When he received the information about the Jade Pillow 36 Styles, Chun Bo was instantly petrified. What the F? What is this thing? The Jade Pillow 36 Styles had nothing to do with martial skills. It was purely a guide for bedroom activities. Wouldn't it be better if you just changed the name to 36 Styles of Bedroom Activities? Do I still need you to teach me these moves? Can't I just watch Japanese adult movies? Isn't audiovisual combined better? Chun Bo thought for a moment, wondering if the Jade Pillow 36 Styles would be like the JTY finger, capable of increasing women's favorability towards him. System. The host is overthinking. This is merely a guide to moves. My mother asterisk cur. Chun Bo couldn't help but curse. It seems that drawing a prize with an extremely low probability doesn't necessarily mean exploding luck and drawing an epic prize. Could also mean extreme bad luck and drawing a useless item. Just like that Lamborghini SVJ worth tens of millions, what's the use? Can't even be sold. Chun Bo then reviewed the Jade Pillow 36 styles. Some of the moves inside were indeed very novel. He would try them later. His consciousness detached from the Jade Pillow 36 styles, and the 7-colored roulette wheel in front of him spun again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining Grandmaster level piano performance. Immediately after, a continuous stream of piano-related knowledge poured into Chun Bo's mind. At this moment, playing the piano was like an innate skill, readily available. At the same time, all piano scores from ancient times to the present, like 100 rivers flowing into the sea, flooded into Chun Bo's brain. As long as Chun Bo was given a piano, he would be able to play incredibly beautiful piano music that would surpass any opponent. This skill was somewhat useful. At least it could be used to show off in specific situations. President Bo's title as a scion of a wealthy family had already been established. As a legendary tycoon, it would be a bit unreasonable if he couldn't even play the piano, a common skill. Moreover, those girls especially admired boys who could play the piano. Once this skill was used, it would surely boost the favorability of the girls bound to him. Soon, the 7-colored roulette wheel in front of him spun again. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining Master Level Medical Skills. Master Level? All the skills obtained from the lottery were Grandmaster Level, so why would a Master Level skill appear? The next second, Chun Bo's mind instantly exploded. He felt an endless stream of medical knowledge and experience frantically pouring into his mind. He had only taken less than a minute to receive the Grandmaster Level piano knowledge. This time, the influx of knowledge lasted for a full 10 minutes. It wasn't until he had received all the medical knowledge and experience that he understood why this medical knowledge was only Master Level and not Grandmaster Level.